What are your thoughts on Stoke at the moment? Obviously gone down the leagues in a bit of a tricky position in terms of championship position. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I've still got a great love for the football club. I'm undying, and this is undying loyalty to the Coates, the family. Peter was a wonderful man, a wonderful chairman. Absolutely lovely person. Very, very intelligent, very accommodating at times with the way I am. He worked me out pretty early and would take me out for if we'd had arguments or I was losing the plot on something. He would always take me out and we'd have a meal and a couple of glasses of wine, and he'd put me back on track. He was very important to me, Peter. The family, John has taken over now, the son, and John is going through a stage that most probably his dad went through, where they were trying to achieve success, put in a lot of money into it, but just falling down. But I'm absolutely convinced eventually that they will get it right. This is a lot of pain at times, I think, for John and the family, but they're resilient people. They're very, very honest, hardworking, resilient people. That I know people criticise gambling and this, that, and the other, and all that stuff. But the Coates family, they put so much money into charities, and they've put so much into Stoke-on-Trent. It's remarkable, Christy, and I just hope, I hope and pray that they will eventually. I just hope the pain doesn't last too much longer, and that they do get it right, and they do get the success that the family deserve. And when I say the family now, obviously John has picked the baton up. The success that John really deserves for the amount of effort he's put into it, the amount of money they've put into it, and the love of the football club, because they do absolutely love that football club and that area.
I went to university at Staffordshire University, so I understand kind of the area and the atmosphere there. But it is interesting now, you mentioned the element of ownership, and there is stability there. It's just strange how they've never really seemed to have challenged to get promoted again since that time when they got relegated a few years back.
Yeah, I think that looking back, I think they obviously they felt they needed a change. That change came, and it just went away from everything that the club and the area knew, and they've got to try and somehow just get back to the basics. The area is a fabulous area. Well, you've been there. They're very honest people. They're very, very straightforward people. They do, and it can be very intimidating at times. But they're hardworking, people. They're that type that if they see something, they believe their eyes. They don't believe what other people are telling them. They look and they see, and they react off that. They don't react off what someone else has said. And that's why most probably I enjoyed it so much there, because they were tough, but they were straightforward with it.
Did you try the oatcakes there, Tony?
Oh, did I? Yeah. I was there for 10 years. I tried everything. Now it was a wonderful period, especially obviously from the promotion year all the way through to to get into the last stages of the European UEFA Cup and everything else. It was just a cup final. But the great thing is the friendship that you make with people. I think along the journey that I've had, all the clubs I've been at, there's people there. There's people that you leave behind that you're very, very pleased to leave behind. But there's also some wonderful people that you've met and experienced. And Stoke is, because of the time I spent there, I've still got lots and lots of friends there.
Just on that element of building relationships, Tony. So you mentioned, and again, the reason I ask this question is people that listen to this podcast are very interested in that element of networking and building relationships and kind of loyalty and management within that process. You mentioned your relationship with the Coates family, which was positive, but then the moment where it comes to an end at Stoke and you have to move on. How was that for you in terms of you've built this relationship up with this individual? There's a sense of trust, but now you've kind of departing. Just can you talk to me a little bit around that, around the emotional aspect of that, and how you deal with that as a manager?
Yeah, we actually felt, and I'm talking about myself and David Kemp, who was my assistant. We actually felt it got to a stage where I'd always run the football club. It was always me and Peter that were making the decisions, or me and the family. Peter was obviously being backed by Denise and John at the time, but I'd always deal with Peter. Where I always felt that there was that togetherness, and then it just started to drift away. There was a chief executive who was starting to make decisions that shouldn't have got anywhere near footballing decisions. We appointed a director of the academy. We didn't agree with some of the stuff that they were doing, and it's come to pass that I think it's worked that way. We didn't agree with that certain things with the recruitment that was taking place. That there were players being bought for a lot of money and put into the academy. There was people doing this and doing that, and it was just it was the way football had gone, Christy. But I'd never experienced that before that time, and it was the way. I think most clubs were then starting to move to having different, structures to look after different areas of the football club. Whereas I'd been an old-fashioned manager who had everything in my grasp. So I didn't like walking into a training ground and seeing, 30, 40 young academy players who didn't know me and I didn't know them. It was strange. I didn't understand, the fact that, and it's gone to pass now that everybody's doing it, that, there was more coaches from the academy setup than there was on my side. There was more coaches doing this and more coaches doing that without any involvement. And I found that really difficult. I'm not saying it was wrong, and I'm not saying what the club did was wrong. It was just a personal thing because I'd never ever experienced it before, Christy. And when I moved away, I realised that Stoke were most probably one of the last clubs to do it, because the next move they had that in place. The next move again, they had all that different structures and different people. I dealt with one family. That was the coach family. I didn't have to worry about a chief executive. I didn't have to worry about a director of football. I didn't have to worry about the fella who finds all the stars. And I used to do it myself. I'd spend hours and hours and hours doing all that stuff anyway. It's like you've got set play coaches now. I used to do all that myself. I'd spend ages working on. I had my own system, my own. The analysis fella would come in and say they're man for man marking this week, or they're zonal, and they do this and do that, and he'd take all those cut-ins. I'd sit down and I'd watch it, and I'd say, "Hey, I think we can do this on that one. I think we can do that." So I'd go out and I knew, and I passed it on to the players. I didn't need an expert on set plays to tell me what to do, but that's the way the game's gone. There's more people now surrounded and in between the coach or the manager and the owners than ever before. And I'm not sure if I was starting off today, and I love being on the grass, I'm not sure I would want an assistant coach. I'd most probably want someone on that side of the club. So someone who sat and listened to, the suits in the boardroom talking and chatting away. You most probably need more protection above you now than what you do below you, if you know what I mean, Christy, because there's so many voices, so many different opinions.